Happy Wednesday and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Rocketeer Minute, where each and every day, Monday through Friday, we go over 1 minute of the greatest adventure movie Walt Disney's ever made, the 1991 Joe Johnston-directed feature, The Rocketeer. I'm one of your hosts, Jim O'Kane of TVDads.com.
And I'm Hal Bryan, an airplane nerd from the Experimental Aircraft Association here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
And we're kind of batching it today.
We are indeed. We're without adult supervision.
We have had a bunch of great, I really appreciate all the different guests that come in from all kinds of walks of life, and we've learned so many things. So I thought we could just kind of regroup here for a minute and discuss one of these minutes by our lonesomes. It's a very busy minute, I got to admit. We've had Eddie's boys show up, and they're starting to throw their muscle around Millie's Little Diner, and starting with by destroying the radio.
Right, puts around right through the radio,
yeah.
Which is always a nice way to walk into a room, make an entrance.
The fine how do you do?
Yeah, exactly.
I was just wondering, Ed, that's a 1911. It's like a 38 or
that'd be a 45.
45.
Yeah, so 45 ACP. So your basic World War II U.S. sidearm, manufactured mainly by Colt. They call it the 1911 because it was manufactured first in 1911. To be honest, I don't even know when they stopped manufacturing. You still buy sort of reproductions and things today, but it's still going strong. There's a lot of them still out there.
Doesn't seem to bother Jeff too much that he's sort of in the crossfire and downrange from his partner there. Right. It's a bit of a.
I think when you go to work for Eddie Valentine, you sign up for a certain relaxing of the rules.
Yeah, well, especially when Jeff has this very poor trigger protocol there.
Right.
It looks like he's about to take the brim of his hat off at the same time. The two of them, if you go to right at that very first moment of this minute, they both seem to be mid-squint.
Yes, it's interesting that when the radio gets it, he's not even really aiming. He's not even really looking where he's shooting. Actually, you see in the second or so after that, he's maintaining eye contact with Peavy and Cliff, which is which I guess makes him a little bit cooler. So
yeah.
He just, I'm going to stare at you, but shoot over there and hit the radio while my boys laugh.
If he were going to be super cool, he would have held it a little bit flatter, so it kind of has
right.
it at right angles to the floor. They're all smirking and see what we did now. Boy, they've all got their fingers on the triggers.
They all do. And that's one of the first things back in my law enforcement days that was absolutely drilled into us. And I get all antsy when I see cops in movies and TV doing that same thing. And for us, that index finger, that stays 100% absolutely straight until you are committed and you are going to pull the trigger and shoot. And so to see these guys running around with their fingers. Now, granted, these are the bad guys.
Yeah.
So we were taught to err on the side of not shooting. And, gangsters probably have a very different set of rules.
Yeah, although, I would think Spanish Johnny, without even looking, grabs Peavy and throws him into right into the guy behind him,
right.
Who has his finger on the trigger and is trying to stand up straight while holding onto his pistol. So, yeah, it's just not a good safety protocol.
Yeah, just not a lot of discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we are looking also at how well dressed these guys are. Everybody's got button-down shirts in this. There isn't a T-shirt to be found. Peavy's got on his Spanish Johnny, and that's not Jeff. That's Mike, I think. They've all got the Valentine's boys all have three-piece suits on.
Right.
Spanish Johnny has a tie bar. We talked earlier about Bar Dexter versus Bar Sinister, Bar Dexter being the fashion statement of 1938. These guys have a little bit more flowery ties. That might just be, it could be the fashion of the time for the flashier folks, but definitely not business attire.
And Spanish Johnny, even, it looks like in one shot he's wearing a pocket watch. Of course, I see the chain anyway.
Yeah, he's got that big
very,
fob
very classy.
there.
Is it Mike? Is that who catches Peavy?
Yeah, Mike catches Peavy, yeah.
So he's got a lapel pin of some kind, too.
Yeah.
I was curious as what that is. Almost could be a horse or...
Don't think it's Kiwanis Club. So
no, probably not.
The really weird thing is Alan Arkin, Peavy's wearing what I thought at first it was a vest, but now I'm starting to believe it's more like a jacket with the sleeves cut off.
That's exactly what it looks like.
It's very odd. It has, vests don't typically have lapels.
Right. Yeah, it's got the lapels. It's got the breast pocket and the watch pocket.
Yeah.
It's
just a very unusual cut. And I just think maybe it's just something he wears around. Definitely, he's not wearing belt and braces. He's just wearing the braces, those great leather suspenders he's got on there, almost like lederhosen.
Yeah, those big, really heavy buckles and everything too for something like that. And who knows? Maybe he had a suit coat and it was wearing at the elbows, so he said, "Fine, I'll make it a vest."
Yeah. The engineer's solution.
Right, exactly.
Repurposed. So anyway, he's going to go get a facial on what looks like a great little mix of liver and onions there.
Yeah, it really does. And then we were talking earlier about the healthy size cloves of garlic off to the left there.
Yeah,
garlic
that
box
must be very fragrant when they cook in that place.
Yeah, no kidding. And
then we get up to the famous, the place where Cliff gets one of his many names. We get up to that bottle of ketchup, which has quite a background. But I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
Actually, it's you and I had been talking about this for a while, and I kind of struck out trying to dig in to figure out exactly what that brand was, if it was real. And I came to the conclusion I didn't think that was real, that it was fictitious. But I would actually throw it back to you, Jim. You know what the company name is, right?
One of our enlightened finheads, Mr. Ziegler, sent us a picture of Belmore ketchup, Belmore ketchup. I can tell you that as a long ago restaurant worker, that is a jar of, or a bottle of Heinz ketchup. It's an inimitable octagonal shaped bottle, and with a Belmore label on it, and it's spelled the old-fashioned way, catsup, C-A-T-S-U-P, which has kind of been supplanted by the modern K form of ketchup, which the word comes from Heinz pushing it as a brand name, but later turning into a normal, a noun for that tomato-based sauce. Which I think we have talked offline about this, that the original sauce that this came from was a Chinese fish sauce, also popular in Malay, called ketchup, or ketchup, hard to pronounce it with all the phonetic letters in multiple Wikipedia type pages. It's been around for a couple of thousand years, arrived in Europe in the 17th century, and then became a tomato-based product in the 1860s. Heinz began making ketchup bottles, actually originally spelled catsup in 1867, but by 1880 they changed it to the K-E-T spelling.
But when did that really, in sort of the vernacular, when did we really just stop saying ketchup altogether? Because I don't recall, even in my lifetime, ever really hearing everybody pronounce it that way.
I remember as a very little kid having Del Monte ketchup. I remember seeing that in stores, but I think by the 1980s, at least from what I've been reading online as to frequencies of advertising, that ketchup kind of removed cat soup from the vernacular about 1980. The crossover point seems to be 1977. If you want to get down to the details of where we started
we're all
spelling
about, right?
It's spelled with a K, baby. That's the way we go.
That's what it is. I'm just fascinated by the fact that we took something that was made out of fish, and somebody said, "I have an idea." Instead of using fish, let's use tomatoes. I mean, it's just how do you get there?
It's squishy and gooey too. We can just, but we still use fish sauce. We just call it Worcestershire. That's made out of. I think someone told me that the Lee and Perrins Worcestershire sauce is actually made out of at least 9 anchovies in every bottle.
And yet they don't use that as a selling point.
Yeah.
There's at least 9 dead fish in this bottle, or your money back.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you find out, you go, really? That's one of the bigger ingredient things that surprised me was the 5th ingredient in A1 steak sauce, which I never would have guessed. And any idea? You just off the cuff?
I would guess. Well, I mean, given our track record today, it's either fish or tomatoes. But I think it's a trick question. So I'm going to go with popcorn.
Ooh, good one, but no, close. It's round, but actually the 5th ingredient is grapes.
Really?
They use grapes in A1 steak sauce, so you're eating kind of a jelly. It's basically ketchup with grapes in it is what makes up most of the A1 steak sauce.
You always make it sound so appealing, Jim. Note to self, pass on the condiments at Jim's house for dinner. Yeah. Just bring your own.
More fish? Is that what this is?
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, this doesn't help poor Peavy anymore, who's about to have his starboard side tanned. And Cliff reaches for that bottle of catsup. He gets a man with a pistol with his finger on the trigger in his ear saying,
right.
Naughty boy. Although the only thing that would really give him would be a punctured eardrum, I think, at that point.
Yeah, and you'd get a minor ding when the shell popped out. Although
that's true. Yeah,
shell probably the shell would eject to the right, so never mind. It would go the other direction. So
yeah, well, in the way this guy's holding his gun, it would probably pop up in the air and then burn the back of his hand.
Right, exactly.
Skeets and Goose are looking on and just thinking that they're never going to get their hamburgers now.
Right. They look helpless.
Yeah, there's my lunch. And beloved character actress Margot Martindale is just crying through this whole thing. She's a treasure. I really, I just love her. And I love her outfit. It's just like 3 different curtains that have
I was just going to use that very word, 3 different kinds of curtains.
Yeah, it looks like the third runner-up for a sewing contest at the state fair. Just like the style of sewing that they do. It's kind of like needlepoint that's done with and the name escapes me now, the collar there.
All the little detail work around the collar.
I want to say
laurels and things.
I want to say it's smocking, but I'm not sure if that's the correct word. But there is a type of thing, I think it's called smocking that does. I'm sure we'll have calls and letters and angry don't you know what that's called? But it's that type of fancy filigree work on dresses. That I see this at the Texas State Fair is held near my home every October, and there's dozens of these things that people still wear. So it's an active craft. And Jeff's just being plain old mean to poor old Millie.
Yeah, no kidding. As you said, she's so lovable.
Yeah.
In this role in particular, and you just feel the tension of everybody in the room. You mess with any of us, but boy, as soon as they're manhandling her, you want to jump through the screen and start throwing punches or, hanging ones on people's kissers, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But then we come to what narrative strategists call the simple turn, where we have this high-stress environment, everything's going on, when all of a sudden Spanish Johnny and his Zoom eyeballs notice the 8675309 on the wall. We
go right into him, don't we?
In this case,
he comes into us.
Yeah, he's doing. They're both leaning forward for like a kiss or something. It just, but it turns out that Lady Luck has left a gigantic heart with "Over here is a clue," and her phone number Hollywood 1603. She's ready to receive a call from any gangster who wanders into a bar,
exactly,
or into a diner.
Whoever wants it. But that looks. I was going to guess that was Cliff's writing, but then again, well, yeah, that's true. When when he holds up, when Spanish Johnny holds up the picture, Jenny has proper, girl cursive.
Yeah, and she's also her arrow goes the other way.
Oh, it sure does too.
Her heart was hit by an arrow, not by being backstabbed by an arrow.
Right, it goes up and through. Isn't that
so
something?
That would be. So is that Cliff that wrote the number on the wall?
I would sure think so. Or he wrote it and can remember it and everything else.
Yeah,
and it's interesting too. You mentioned the number was Hollywood, and that goes back almost before our time, or pretty close, or maybe just a bit before our time when the last of the exchanges.
I had that.
Did you?
It's old enough for me. Yeah, I had EL4. I lived in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and my number was EL4. I can remember when it switched over. Nowadays, that's when people had to remember numbers. Nobody has to remember numbers.
Right, nobody even has to remember them anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got HO for Hollywood. We see a lot of Hollywood numbers here. We never did find what there's to the right of that. There's HE 7823.
Which I may be misremembering this, but if I remember Henderson something, if you use that, it was similar to the 555 that you saw in later movies where it went nowhere. There wasn't anybody to call at that number. The other one they typically use for 555 was Klondike 5.
Oh, sure, KL5, yeah.
KL5, yeah. I do notice that Queen of Angels is there, just in case you wanted to send Wilmer some flowers.
Right. Queen of Angels, then Police and Fire are both written down.
And the YMCA.
YMCA.
And, if you had a boat landing as well, there was a little place if you needed to land at sea.
And there's a tiny heart down on the lower left, a much smaller one next to somebody named Brad. So who knows who was calling Brad? Maybe that's Millie's suitor.
That could be. And there's a four-leaf clover, which is also featured on Cliff's GB, so maybe that's another part of Lady Luck that he was thinking about using. That might have been the earliest part of where he was going to come up with ideas for his nose art.
Right. And then there's a number there, too, for Airways registration, another AG exchange.
Just in case you want to get another NX number for your...
I guess so, yeah. And then speaking of airplanes, there's a nice little doodle there of a racer. It's by the number 44, then to me that immediately makes me think of the Waddell Williams 44, but this is not a radial engine. This is an inline engine, an inverted inline engine. So.
Am I missing that? But it looks like he has a tail gunner thing. I mean, it just looks like...
See, I read that as a scarf.
Scarf, okay.
It's like a heroic, it's an open cockpit thing. It's a heroic white scarf sticking back. Anyway, we're going to have to dig into that a little bit further and see if we can figure out what that was. Number 44 is the Waddell Williams 44. If I remember right, we see a replica of that. It looks very similar to the Travel Air mystery ship. I'm trying to recall. It seems like we get a blink or you miss it look at a replica of the Waddell Williams in one of the hangars or on the ramps at Santa Maria. It's been a little bit now, but regardless, that's a similar thing. But this, whoever drew this, if they knew they were airplanes, wasn't trying to draw radial engine airplanes. The propeller would be vertically would be centered at the nose of the airplane instead of up there at the top. So this looks a little bit like that Cadrone. It looks, although with open cockpit, looks like any number of things. It looks a little bit like Orion from the cockpit forward, but a different tail. This
could be a Dave Stevens thing because we know there'll be future minutes where we talk about different things that he actually painted or drew that was in this movie that he just had a lot of spare time while he was sitting around. He was like, I can do that. So
right, he could have just run up there and sketched something. Before we zoom in too tight on the message board, there's off to the right, there's a nice little framed, I'm going to guess this would be like a certificate of participation sort of thing.
Oh, the National
Air Races, yeah. It's 1936, and then you've got the winged figure that's Icarus there. And that's right off the front of the Thompson Trophy that we've talked about.
Yeah, wow.
So that little bit of that design there is the same. That was their logo at the time. If you look at like programs for the National Air Races right around this time frame, the mid and late 30s, you'll see that same figure, that same logo and everything. So that's quite appropriate.
One thing I've been trying to find out, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, but I have been unable to confirm it online. There is a second lock put on that payphone. If you look at the original lock for that payphone is in the center of the payphone.
Oh, sure. And then there's one off to the right.
And I think the one to the right is a cylinder lock, which is you need a special kind of key. I believe that is an anachronism. I think those particular types of locks weren't available until the mid-1950s. So this may be an upgraded phone that they got from salvage.
Yeah, that very well could be. Those cylinder locks, I always associate those, complicated and boring reasons, I associate those with access panels on elevators. A lot of elevators use those, and for reasons better left undiscussed, I at one point had one of those little cylinder lock keys like that, so you can picture just how it works. So as you said, just a cylinder that goes in as you would expect and then rotates just like any other key.
Yeah, it's clever. It's also difficult to pick. So
right.
And you'd find them on a lot of vending machines later on in the 50s and 60s and even to today.
Sure.
But I think this phone is a salvage phone. Admittedly, it's a candlestick type phone. It has the separate speaker and earpiece. But I have a feeling that just they didn't have time to get rid of that portion of it, or they figured nobody would be looking at a movie like this at a frame by frame rate, so why bother getting rid of it?
Yeah, exactly.
If we're down to that level, it doesn't really matter. I give them a pass.
And as I understand it, the cost to use this payphone at the time would have been a nickel, because it seems like payphone calls were 5 cents for a very, very long time, and then it was a big deal when they started changing to 10 and then 25 and things. But you notice that they're ready to support longer phone calls or even long distance by accepting up to a quarter on this machine. Yeah,
it's beautiful just seeing those. The funny thing is that this is going to be part of a lost piece of civilization as payphones are kind of disappearing everywhere.
Right.
I was in what used to be the Pan Am building a few years ago, which is now the MetLife building in Manhattan. And I can remember as a kid being like dozens in the neighborhood of like 30 to 40 phone booths. And the area where they had them in, the phones were gone and the booths themselves were left behind. So there was just this pile of squares where the phones used to hang. It's kind of, I understand why, it doesn't need to be there because everybody has a cell phone, but it's just a weird piece of normal life that is no longer normal life. And it's just, it's gone the way of buggy whips and such. So.
Right. And it is something I saw a payphone somewhere not too long ago, and you don't give it a thought, and then so you do a double take. Wait, is is that really a payphone? Does it still work? Does it exist?
How much do they cost? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember too, probably about 10 years ago when like my cell phone died and had some car trouble or something. I needed to call home and, found a payphone. They were more prevalent then, but I was still already pretty used to the world of cell phones. And I struggled mightily with it because I couldn't even figure out how to get the thing to work and how much money I needed. I didn't really have any change, but there was a way to do it with a card. And it was exhausting. I should have just walked home. It would have been easier.
Yeah, it's funny. I can recall watching a AT&T about 1990. I want to say 1993 or 94. They had produced a series of commercials of the future, of what the future would be like. It was hosted by Tom Selleck was the voice of it. And they were showing all these different things about what the future was going to be like. And they got a lot of things right. They had things like, toll booths that you'd have a radio, an RF pass that would stick on your windshield and you could fly through a toll booth at full speed without, you wouldn't have to stop. And they got that right. But there were a couple of things that they got wrong was that you'd be able to order concert tickets from a payphone. And what you had to do is you had to walk up to a payphone and type stuff in on a little screen that was on a modern payphone. I was thinking, well, no, you'd just stay home. You'd either put it on your computer or bring up the phone that's in your pocket and type it.
Right. Or if you don't want to do that, you just use your watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dick Tracy would be able to get something.
Exactly.
The end of it was showing that you could send a fax from the beach, and and it's like, so you have to bring a pad of paper with you, and basically the fellow has this little computer thing, a little fax machine that runs on batteries, and he had to pull out a big antenna to feed a piece of paper in the sand on the beach, and it's interesting to see what they got right and what they got wrong. But
that's always amazing. I always remember 2010 Odyssey 2, sequel to 2001: A Space Odyssey, came out in 1984, and of course now takes place in the past, which is hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah,
and Roy Scheider is on the beach with an Apple IIc that he's got this sort of design prototype of what Apple was planning on doing, and that was going to be a portable LCD screen that you could snap into the thing.
Yeah.
And it would look a little bit like, what we think of now as a laptop. But as far as I know, that was never produced. And of course, to us, it's this clunky, heavy black and white thing. And it's just, by the 90s, it looked ridiculous. And of course, by real 2010, it was absurd. But we're still not orbiting Jupiter.
Yeah. And I do remember in that there was one scene where he was checking the orbit of what happened with Discovery.
Oh, yes. And you checked the orbit lately.
Yeah. He was looking at this gigantic CRT screen that you could probably get a tan with.
Yes.
That it was just this monstrous box. It's like they tried. The funny thing was that the futuristic stuff in 2001 looked more futuristic than the stuff that was in 2010.
Yeah, and in 2010 they made it. I think they had more to extrapolate from in terms of sort of day-to-day technology and things, and so they were trying to maybe sort of make it more reasonable. But
yeah, they didn't know that people would have iPads like Dave Bowman had.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, you can't pick on the past. They tried their best.
Oh, absolutely. 2010 would be a fun minute-by-minute podcast to do, and 2001 would be fascinating, except for that one big part about two-thirds of the way through. Then I don't know what we'd do. Yep, it's still weird.
Yeah, look at that. It's blue.
Yes.
Now it's yellow. Yes. Now it's orange.
Tune in tomorrow for more colors on the 2001 minute.
Wow, but we're still in 1938, where Spanish Johnny has just made his simple turn in the narration, where we don't have to. Turns out we don't have to grill Peavy. We've just discovered.
Exactly.
We've discovered where the dish lives.
Yeah, we can have the liver and onions hold the Peavy.
Yeah. Exactly. So it looks like Skeets and Goose are going to be getting their dinner after all. Well, as long as these boys kind of clear out. But we'll have to see as we end this 1 minute with a great picture of Cliff looking shocked and surprised at this new turn of events that they know who Jenny is.
Right. As we move in on him, as he's turning his head, he just has that. Billy's got this expressive face, and I suppose that's a ridiculous understatement to say about somebody who's a talented actor. There's just something about you read everything into it.
He also does that that thing that the assistant director explained about acting is that he's acting like he's not acting.
Exactly.
And he's doing a very good job of it.
Yes.
So we're going to have to leave Billy here as or Cliff here as we wonder what happens next and what kind of nefarious turn Spanish Johnny will get to find out more about Lady Luck. But we'll pick that up a little bit more tomorrow. For folks who are interested in talking with us some more about this stuff, we are always available at the usual locations. We're on social media at Twitter, Rocketeer Minute. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/Rocketeer Minute, the big site, rocketeerminute.com. You can catch up on all the previous episodes. Go to iTunes, go to Google Play, type in Rocketeer Minute, and if you hit search and then subscribe, you'll get us hot and fresh every day. Also, if you're going to be in Chicago, this is in 2017, so if you're going to be in Chicago and it's still in the future and not in the past, please join us August 26th at Movies by Minutes Chicago. We have lots of details. Go to our main website, rocketeerminute.com, or go to moviesbyminutes.com, and you can catch up on all the other shows that are going to be there. It's a lot of people coming, meet us really in the flesh, and find out how we really talk without editing.
Exactly.
Join us there. Also, if you're in the Oshkosh, Wisconsin area, you and 500,000 of your best friends will also be at Air Ventures. Is it still? Are you still able to go get tickets? Is that a thing, or are you guys sold out yet?
No, absolutely. You can always get in. There's always room for people. The only thing that can sometimes fill up is the fly-in general aviation camping, and that's usually only for shorter periods. Like sometimes on Wednesday of the week is a high turnover day for us. So sometimes the airport will be full for fly-in camping. There's always room for tent and drive-in and RV camping. The only overall challenging part, if you're not camping at this point, is finding a place to stay. Most of the hotels within a half hour have been sold out for a year or so. But where there's a will, there's a way.
The nearby states of Minnesota and Illinois would be happy to put you up while you drive in.
Exactly. So. Yes.
And what are the dates, by the way, for Air Venture?
July 24th through 30th this year.
Oh, okay. Well, please join us at one of these locations up in the center tier of states, but we'll be all around there this summer. And if it's already past then, we're sorry we missed you, but we'll be back next year. So keep checking around. But I know we'll be back here tomorrow, so please join us here Thursday on the Rocketeer Minute. So until next time, over and out.
Go get him, kid.